Good evening and welcome to Wholesome Words. Hi, I'm Joanne and I'm the creator and founder of the Wholesome Words live event. And so today I'm all by myself. My co-hosts are out having fun at gingerbread parties and other fun stuff. But hey, that doesn't stop me at all. So welcome. And so if you're new to my channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Here's an opportunity for us to look at joy and peace and really review why we are at that time of the year to actually be looking at the reason for the season. There's just so much divisive events that are trying to steal our joy and our peace, but hey, here we are. I'm excited. So I give a shout out to my friend, Mr. Craig Carlisle, the creator of his hip hop group, and now I'm just raising these guys, raising men. And if you've been hanging out with us, then you know all these fun things. But I'm excited and I miss him. And I miss Tiffany too. I know she's out there somewhere, I don't know where. But hey, it's all about doing what you're called to do. So if you know me, you know I love to start off with my favorite, Preston Perry, If I Ever Forget. And it's really this time of the year where do you want to forget the blessings of God? No. So let's hear from Preston once more.
Lord, if I ever forget how to praise you, let my tongue forget language. Let my ears forget how the ocean sounds when the currents violently collide against the rocks along the shoreline. And let me forget the morning, where the silence sings a symphony of peace that only you can orchestrate, and where your mercy is new and in its sweetest form. But remind me of the day when I was thirsty, in need of the type of water that will unparch my soul forever, and your grace came in and flooded this dying desert of a man. Remind me of the days when darkness followed me so much, the moon knew me by name, but your voice, still as a morning ocean, called me out of midnight into your marvelous light. Let not my heart be like Israel, who forgot that they saw you sea in half, to lead them to a land where slavery knew not their names, and freedom sung them into a clear sky. But help me to remember your goodness, that your love is the only thing that matters when all else fails. Remind me that your brutal, bloody, beaten body was bruised on the cross for my sins, that you died in my place. When my pride is high, remind me that you lowered yourself to die for my sins. Lord, if I ever forget how to praise you, let me forget everything that has ever existed. But help me to remember you, because in you all things exist. We exist to make your name known, because when everything passes away, you will be the only thing that truly matters.
If I ever forget, I can't even just tell you how that just sets the tone of, just being grateful. I mean, we're in a season where, again, like a lot of things are happening, but it's just kind of poignant to just remember, who God is and the reason for the season. And I don't want to ever forget, not ever. So that's just kind of where I am right now. Next, Craig and I, we kind of come together, and the name of Craig's hip hop radio station, which is actually coast to coast in Virginia, California, and other states, is The Framework. And The Framework is an amazing, clean Christian hip hop station. And so you can get on um, Facebook, Instagram, and you can actually follow him. And what's really kind of cool about what Craig has is that it's his sons that are actually the anchors and the ones that are kind of hosting the show. So if you haven't been able to check out the framework, hey, take a moment and check that out. Also, as you know, if you've been following me and Craig, we have what's called Words and Beats. And so we're still asking for artists to send their work to Words and Beats, either drop it in my my Facebook Messenger to submit your entry. And if it's pretty good, we will play it on the Wholesome Words channel and as well as the framework. So here's our promo for that, Words and Beats.
Spoken word is an element of hip-hop. They go together like a hi-hat and snare. So does Wholesome Words and the framework. And we've come together to present Words and Beats of the Week. If you're a poet, spoken word artist, producer, or musician, email your 1-minute submission to wordsandbeats@theframework.com. If your submission is chosen, it will air on both Wholesome Words' social media and an episode of The Framework.
You're in the framework.
The framework. So, again, you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and maybe even a little TikTok every now and then. But check them out. Craig Carlisle and his sons, The Framework. Clean Christian hip hop. Next, as I do every time I prepare for one of my events, I really kind of sit and talk about or think about the theme that God gives me. And this theme is about joy and peace. And so it's been kind of interesting because I keep reading it in my different devotionals every day. And it's just like confirmation after confirmation. So I'm really super excited about it. But before we kick off into that, I want to introduce you to something called the gift.
A teenage girl had her plans reconstructed, her life interrupted when she was entrusted with something beyond our human measure, a treasure that was temporarily buried within her. Society would have classed her a sinner, but God's purpose for people was immaculate and bigger. This gold was something the Grinch could never steal. There wasn't lights on the trees and the smell of chestnuts in the breeze the night before Christmas was revealed. More like a journey of over 70 miles in a race against time, not an elf in a film. The father laid all of his cards on the table for the hope of the world to be born on the floor of a stable. Regardless of the circumstances surrounding, all who were around him bowed, and in their hearts they crowned him. His name, Jesus, crowned the Prince of Shalom, absolute and completeness. He's unchanging and unmovable. The child was given as he was the only one suitable. A bright star shone a light on the stage, framing the opening scene of this reality play, where a child was given the responsibility of the world, regardless of his age. The angels shouted, "Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men." Their praise was relayed on the lips of the shepherds as they journeyed to the stables, the Bible says, with haste, and dropped on their knees in the hay and let their worship display while the animals around could only do the same. Wise men from the east traveled far from where they were to honor the king with gold, frankincense, and myrrh. That day an innocent lion was born, and the world adorned. What is a worthy gift I can lay before him? A gift that is worthy for the King of all kings, like placing your presents on Christmas Eve. Under the family Christmas tree, without Jesus, what would Christmas be? He destroys yokes and removes burdens. He is our provider, healer, and a hope that is certain. With a grace without bounds and love without conditions. Freedom in his hands to free the captives from their prisons, like placing your presents on Christmas Eve. Under the family Christmas tree, without Jesus, what would Christmas be? In honor for the King, we will worship at his feet.
just amazing. I'm having a little technical difficulties, but it's all good. And so the things that he brought up remind me of joy and peace and what the true message, what the true reason for the season is about, the joy and the peace of God. And so I'm one of those little Bible nerds, in case you didn't know, you probably knew. And I stumbled upon last year this project called the Bible Project. And they just kind of brought things together so simply to kind of really kind of wrap your mind about what does joy mean? What does peace mean? So we're going to take a look at the Bible Project, Joy.
Being in a good mood is really great, and most languages have lots of words to describe the experience, like happy, cheerful, joyful, and so on. The same goes for the languages of the Bible. In ancient biblical Hebrew, there's a variety of words, like simcha, sason, or gil. In the Greek New Testament, there's kara, euphrosune, or agaliasis. Each word has its own unique nuance, but they all basically refer to the feeling of joy and happiness. Now, what makes these biblical joy words interesting is noticing the kinds of things that bring happiness, and also seeing how joy is a key theme that runs through the whole story of the Bible. Let's start with sources of joy. On page 1 of the Bible, God says that this world is very good. And so naturally, people find joy in beautiful and good things of life, like growing flocks or an abundant harvest on the hills. The poet of Psalm 104 says, "A good bottle of wine is God's gift to bring joy to people's hearts." People find joy at a wedding or in their children. There's even a Hebrew proverb that compares the joy that perfume brings to your nose with the joy a good friend brings to your heart. However, human history isn't just a joy fest. The biblical story shows how we live in a world that's been corrupted by our own selfishness. It's marked by death and loss. And this is where biblical faith offers a unique perspective on joy. It's an attitude God's people adopt, not because of happy circumstances, but because of their hope in God's love and promise. So when the Israelites were suffering from slavery in Egypt, God raised up Moses to lead them into freedom. And the first thing the Israelites did was sing for joy. Even though they were in the middle of a desert, they were vulnerable, the promised land was still far away, they rejoiced anyway. Later biblical poets looked back on this story and they remembered how the Lord caused his people to leave with joy, his chosen ones with shouts of joy. This joy in the wilderness, this was a defining moment, a way of saying that the joy of God's people is not determined by their struggles, but by their future destiny. This theme appears later in Israel's story, when Israel suffered under the oppression of foreign empires. The prophet Isaiah looked for a day when God would raise up a new deliverer like Moses. That's when those redeemed by the Lord will return to Zion with glad shouts, with eternal joy crowning their heads. Happiness and joy will overtake them. And while the Israelites waited, they chose joy to anticipate their future redemption. This is why it's significant that when Jesus of Nazareth was born, it was announced as good news that brings great joy. We're told that Jesus himself rejoiced and gave thanks to God his Father when he began to announce the kingdom of God. He even taught his followers the same joy in the wilderness, saying, "When people reject you or persecute you for following me, rejoice, be very glad, because your reward is great in heaven." After his death and resurrection, Jesus commissioned his followers to go out and announce the good news that he was the risen King of the world. And as they did so, the early Christian communities were known for being full of joy, even when they were persecuted. Like when the Apostle Paul was sitting in a dirty Roman prison, he could say that he's chosen joy, even if he gets executed. He called this the joy of faith, or joy in the Lord. He believed it was the gift of God's Spirit, a sign that Jesus' presence is with you, inspiring hope in the midst of hardship. And when you believe that Jesus' love has overcome death itself, joy becomes reasonable in the darkest of circumstances. Now, this doesn't mean that you ignore or suppress your sorrow. That's not healthy or necessary. Paul often expressed his grief about missing loved ones or losing friends or his own freedom. He called it being full of sorrow and yet rejoicing. As he acknowledged his pain, he also made a choice to trust Jesus, that his loss wouldn't be the final word. This is very different from the trite advice to turn that frown upside down. Christian joy is a profound decision of faith and hope in the power of Jesus' own life and love. And that's what biblical joy is all about.
And that's what biblical joy is all about. And so it just takes on a different feeling when we are still going through a pandemic right now. And I think that a lot of times people forget that we are actually still within a pandemic. And last year, I remember it was really kind of different because, we were still kind of trying to figure out, okay, when's this vaccination coming out? I'm still having to wear masks. I don't want to get it. I know I was raising my hand. I do not want to get this virus. I don't. So I was doing things that would kind of still uplift my spirits and do different things, and then try to find the joy of the Christmas time, where I'm usually out going to hot chocolate nutcracker. If you don't know what that is, you can look that up on Google. You can Google it. And so I'm used to just kind of navigating myself around to different art events, and found myself not being able to do those things just because of the pandemic. Theaters were closed and stuff, but there was still a joy of who Christ is and who he represents and what he represents in my life. And so I have a couple different videos that I want to share with you. One that says Merry Christmas to you, but it's still kind of wrapped around the subject of joy. It's called Merry Christmas.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King, and let every heart prepare him room. From a virgin's womb, down through the canal of 42 generations, the God of all creation, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the King of the ages, the uncreated, immortal, invisible, God was here. Does that not blow your mind? I mean, this is the God of all flesh, the God who by his outstretched arm changes the times and the seasons. He rules over all of the kingdoms of the nations and removes and sets up kings. He could have just sent somebody here. But instead he decided to come himself. And not as a fully grown man, powerful and strong, riding on the wings of angels or horses with chariots of fire. No, he came as a baby, frail and weak. It all seems like such a paradoxical anomaly. And to take it even further, this God who framed the worlds with his words and dried up the waters of the great deep, the one who created all things and is exalted his head above all, had no place to lay his head at all. The earth is his footstool. Heaven is his throne, and yet he's looking for someone to build a home for him. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Even foxes have dens. Birds have nests. But the Son of Man, nothing? And so that's why I decided that I would prepare a place for him. That maybe my heart could be the manger where he lays his head, and I could swaddle him with my garments of praise. That maybe my worship could be his Bethlehem, and he would be proof that something good can come from the Nazareth of my soul. That maybe if he would wonderfully counsel me, I could build him a house upon a rock. One where by the power of his might he could father my spirit into the increase of the greatness of his peace over the government of my mind. There would be no end. So let the transformation begin, and I will make room for you. And let my house be called Bethel, the place where God dwells. May you find your rest in me, El Bethel.
Wow, that, whew, it just makes you just stop and just pause for just a moment to think about, again, the reason for the season, the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. It is something to smile about. It is something that I want to share. And so here I am, looking at joy and peace. She said it ever so eloquently of what it means to her and how she could be that particular place where God could lay his head and her heart and just different things. That was really very powerful. And so that was just, I don't know, that one got me. It's funny because I select all of these different videos and they impact me when I first see it, and then it's an impact even when I'm sharing it with you. And so I hope that you're blessed. Next is Chandra Lucas, and she's another one that I found. And it's, again, just another powerful one for you to kind of marinate and think about what this season means and how the season is just really created to bring you joy. And so let the record reflect light.
Let's go back to the beginning, when time itself was an infant. Before any of this existed, just an endless space full of empty and God. And in a cosmic series of events, God fashioned the foundations of the earth, drew open the heavens like a curtain, and flexed his vocal cords to form his very first recorded words: "Let there be light." And somehow there was, and not just a flickering, but a flood of light into every corner of the universe. So let the record reflect that light came first. Before anything else, before anyone wept, before anything kept us in sin, let the record reflect that light always wins. But for hundreds of years, the darkness crept back in like it was everybody's business. And it was. But when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his son, born of a woman in the middle of an ordinary night, when God unfolded the light of his word like delicately placed napkins at the dining room table, inviting each of us to take a seat and feast upon a feast that we could not afford if we sold our souls. So let the record show that hope is no cheap thrill. But the Father saw fit to fit the bill in the form of a babbling baby, wrapped in rags in a manger, yet possessing all the riches of a world that had waited and waited and waited for him to show up. See, we were captives, overcome by this incurable cavern, unable to see beyond the shadows of our own sin. We needed him. Not just to light a torch, but to be himself the flame. The light of lights fell down from heaven with miraculous momentum. 186,292.397 miles per second to be exact. Burning through the black abyss, so accurate in his precision, breaking us into a dawn that had yet seemed so distant. This is more than religion. See, this is the culmination of our existence. Every what, when, how, and why answered in an instant, in an infant, a veritably vulnerable position for a king. But not quite. See, here's the thing about light. The inextinguishable giver of life. Powerful, preeminent, constant and omnipotent, unsurpassable, inscrutable, irreducible, irrefutable light. Visibly invisible, impenetrably integral, an unfettered and unfathomable phenomenon that scientists have yet to put their finger on. No matter how you see it, y'all. Light cannot be defined or defeated, confined or depleted, because it is a he, and his name is Jesus, God's iridescent gift to us, sent to us for the redemption of our souls, mysterious yet meant for us to behold, to believe, to become like him in his likeness. And when the light hits and illuminates the darkness like the flipping of a light switch, so the world can see the truth instead of what it thought it knew about Jesus, God's incarnational clapback to the fact that sin had lingered for so long and darkness had become the norm. But no longer will we be scorned by it. Let the record admit that no matter what kind of pit you find yourself in, that darkness is as light to him. And that light always wins.
Wow. Chandra Lewis, let the record reflect light. And it's just so proper. In the evening, sometimes I walk around my neighborhood, and it's kind of funny. On one side of the street, there's all these houses with all these beautiful decorations. And then on the other side, it's kind of like, that's kind of where my neighborhood is. But the lights are the things that just, give you memory and give you a sense of, of just beauty and just artistic, memories of things that are happenings. And so when we think about Jesus, we think about the light. We hear him as the light morning star, the bright morning star. And he is and can be. And so during this time when people love to just walk down, the different places that are having these fabulous decorated neighborhoods, the lights are the thing that remind me of who the light is in me, who the light is for Joanne. And so she's just so poignant. Chandra was just so poignant in her poem of what the light is, and the light brings joy. So there's that connection of light and brightness, and just amazing. So the next video that I have is by Motions Worship, and so enjoy.
Why?
Why?
Why did Jesus come to earth?
Why forsake the majesty and fellowship of heaven?
Exchanging a palace for a stable.
Immortal comforts for a feeding trough.
And robes of glory for the feeble body of an infant.
An unparalleled irony, this supreme, unrivaled nobility experiencing absolute and total humility.
Our sovereign God, Emmanuel, as a baby.
He didn't come to heap shame upon sinners, or to judge and cast out the impious, but to break bread with those called unrighteous.
He didn't come to illuminate every mystery of the cosmos or to enlighten the intellectual, but to fulfill the testimony of prophets clothed in rags.
He didn't come to elevate a single nation or to advocate a particular political affiliation. He came because he saw you, broken, in need of salvation.
He saw you lost and abandoned, crying out, surrounded by deaf ears, fighting through the tears, but beaten down by the torments of this world.
And unable to bear your distress, he renounced his eternal throne,
walked the earth,
bore the stripes,
accepted the nails,
and gave up his last breath,
so that you could receive the breath of life. Our God,
our holy, infinite God,
beheld your pain,
perceived your heart,
and determined that your soul was worth dying for.
From the manger to the cross to the empty tomb,
it is all a story of profound love, of a Savior who rescued his children from darkness,
of a blameless king who declared that no sacrifice was too great for the sake of his beloved creation.
Why did Jesus come to earth?
He came for you.
He came for you. He came for me. Wow. And that thought right there, that brings me joy. It's just amazing how we go through the season and we get caught up in all the shopping and the, purchasing. And I'm guilty of being online, ordering different things from my grandnieces. But at the end, it's like I'm imagining the joy on their faces. I'm imagining how excited they are over something that they really, really wanted. And I shared with my niece, she says, you don't have to do this. And I said, but love is a gift. And when we think about Jesus as a baby, that was our gift. And so we celebrate that memory that hopefully brings us closer to who he is and what he's done for us. That's what the joy is about. That's what the joy is about. And so it's just real powerful, just something to really kind of marinate. I know next Saturday will be Christmas and families from all over will be gathering at that particular time to just celebrate. And hopefully the joy that will be just unwrapped won't be from the packages, but maybe from your heart. You'll unwrap your heart and accept Jesus, who gave his gift of love. Next, I have, this is actually I call him one of my kids that I've kind of watched grow up in spoken word. And if you've been on this year watching, he's become one of my, favorites. And so this is Hope by Matt Ballon. And it's just amazing. If you haven't experienced him, then here he is, Matt Ballon, Hope.
All right. Matt, do you have anything to share today?
Everybody can tell that I've been different lately. My friends look into my eyes and see something new, and my family notices the change too, and it could all be traced back to when I did those things I said I'd never do again.
Roommates aware of the distortion in my facial expressions, knowing I've been using medication to cope with depression. Now there's substance in my system, forsaking known wisdom, betraying my sworn intentions and lessons I learned before that told me don't use it anymore. Big homie told me to try it, so I did. Once. But 1 led to 2, and 2 led to 8, and it all adds up. Now it's something that I crave more than lunch in the middle of the day. When I still haven't ate, I need this. Without it, I'm anxious, enraged and impatient, pacing the pavement afraid when I can't taste it. Amazing how I even stopped back then, because I don't feel like Matt without it. It gives me strength to believe, courage to achieve, and honesty to process my history of misery from 2017. But listen when I say I'm an abuser. I've used marijuana, cigarettes, and vodka, kratom, Norcos, and narcotics, edibles, sleeping pills, and THC products, painkillers, codeine, and shrooms, spice, salvia, and dabs, cocaine, hash, and wax. When I say I've done the max, yo, these are the facts. This liver is probably crying to be delivered. Got all these addictions from afflictions, but this one seems different. Without it, I feel emotionless. Brokenness, overflow, intolerance growing. I've been raising dosages. Going through the motions, I've been doping my soul with hope. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. So hope internalized within gives lift when I itch and twitch for a fix. Instead of twisting and lighting a spliff, or crushing and snorting a brick, this substance is available through 2 twigs and a crucifix, crucifying hopelessness and resurrecting with this drug. I threw it away when times got rough, but now my heart can't get enough. On it, my heart feels stronger. Honestly, hope was forgotten, said I wouldn't bother, cause last time I did, the road got harder, night times longer, mine much darker, farther from God, my hope was slaughtered. Suicide talking, past sins haunting, depression was sovereign. And I still got hella problems, but they're not the author of my book. This hope in God is. Now I'm ready to conquer. It's letting me heal, fueling my will, telling me to stay still when I feel emotionally ill. And I still battle depression, rejection, disconnection, and pressure. But this time I'm obsessed with a new drug named hope. So this is for my addicts, caught up in habits, living in havoc as tragic accidents continue to happen, losing your passion, asking thousands of questions but hearing no answer. God sees you, God knows you, and God's with you.
Hi, my name is Kathy, and I'm an addict.
Wow. Hope. Yeah, we probably all need a little addiction of hope. Yeah, that's probably real good. Just amazing when we're thinking about all the different things that you're hoping to get for Christmas, maybe a certain present, maybe a certain trip, maybe whatever. And so the hope is kind of just displaced when we need to have the hope of Christ. And Matt says it so eloquently, where you're thinking of all these different things, but he's really talking about your relationship with God, and that there's hope in that relationship. So excellent job. Yeah, and he's one of my kids, so I'm excited about that. Next, we've been talking about joy and peace. And so I introduced you to the Bible Project because they actually had something on joy. And of course, a good segue to kick off the peace portion of this live And so we're going to look at the Bible Project, peace.
The word peace is common in most languages. People can talk about peace treaties or times of peace. It means the absence of war. And in the Bible, the word peace can refer to the absence of conflict, but it also points to the presence of something better in its place. In the Old Testament, the Hebrew word for peace is shalom. And in the New Testament, the Greek word is eirene. The most basic meaning of shalom is complete or whole. The word can refer to a stone that has a perfect, whole shape with no cracks. It can also refer to a completed stone wall that has no gaps and no missing bricks. Shalom refers to something that's complex with lots of pieces that's in a state of completeness, wholeness. It's like Job, who says his tents are in a state of shalom because he counted his flock and no animals are missing. This is why shalom can refer to a person's well-being. Like when David visited his brothers on the battlefield, he asked about their shalom. The core idea is that life is complex, full of moving parts and relationships and situations, and when any of these is out of alignment or missing, your shalom breaks down. Life is no longer whole, it needs to be restored. In fact, that's the basic meaning of shalom when you use it as a verb. To bring shalom literally means to make complete or restore. So Solomon brings shalom to the unfinished temple when he completes it. Or if your animal accidentally damages your neighbor's field, you shalom them by giving them a complete repayment for their loss. You take what's missing and you restore it to wholeness. The same goes for human relationships. In the book of Proverbs, to reconcile and heal a broken relationship is to bring shalom. And when rival kingdoms make shalom in the Bible, it doesn't just mean they stop fighting, it also means they start working together for each other's benefit. This state of shalom is what Israel's kings were supposed to cultivate, and it rarely happened. So the prophet Isaiah, he looked forward to a future king, a prince of shalom. And his reign would bring shalom with no end. A time when God would make a covenant of shalom with his people and make right all wrongs and heal all that's been broken. This is why Jesus' birth in the New Testament was announced as the arrival of eirene. Remember, that's the Greek word for peace. Jesus came to offer his peace to others, like when he said to his followers, "My peace I give to you all." The apostles claimed that Jesus made peace between messed up humans and God when he died and rose from the dead. The idea is that he restored to wholeness the broken relationship between humans and their creator. This is why the Apostle Paul can say Jesus himself is our eirene. He was the whole complete human that I am made to be but have failed to be. And now he gives me his life as a gift. And this means that Jesus' followers are now called to create peace. Paul instructed local churches to keep their unity through the bond of peace, which requires humility and patience and bearing with others in love. Becoming people of peace means participating in the life of Jesus, who reconciled all things in heaven and earth, restoring peace through his death and resurrection. So peace takes a lot of work, because it's not just the absence of conflict. True peace requires taking what's broken and restoring it to wholeness, whether it's in our lives, our relationships, or in our world. And that's the rich biblical concept of peace.
Yeah, peace. Yeah, that was just amazing. I really enjoy the Bible Project because they actually take the words, expound upon them. They do a little they dig deeper to kind of bring and tease up the definition of what the word peace means. And so if you're new to my show, thebibleproject.org, I found them, interestingly enough, in my Bible app, which is YouVersion, and not really knowing what it is. I just got nosy one day and just went to click on something that I didn't know and was just pleasantly surprised. And so when we think about peace and all the different things that are happening right now in the world, there's a lot of unsettled things. Unfortunately, Omicron has hit the shores of our nation, and there's more mask mandates that are out, hopefully protecting others that may have not gotten the vaccination, but just giving us a sense of peace somewhere in this season, people look for joy and hope and peace, and they're looking for a time where maybe everybody can just come together and be more family together, love more together, whatever it is. Usually joy and hope and peace are those elements that are brought to the family celebration as they open their gifts from other loved ones and families and friends. One of the gifts that may not again be thought of is the gift that God gave his son, Jesus Christ. And so the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes could not even have been something that anyone could even imagine, that he would go to the cross for our sins and then reunite, bring the shalom back to the relationship that was broken with God. And so it's just a rich time. It's a holy time. It's an amazing time that mend fences. You hear all these amazing Christmas stories of how people were just out there, but now they come back. They come back to their families, and it's the love and the hope and the joy and the peace that people receive during this time. So this is a great time to, maybe just prep for next week, next Friday and next Saturday, to kind of like put your mind together on where you're going to go in 2022. What are you bringing into 2022? And hopefully you're bringing something that's going to be the remnant of hope and joy and peace. So, speaking of peace, if you've been watching my show, you've noticed that there's this new, it's not as good as Preston Perry to me, but I didn't forget him this year. I mean, this particular month, but I kind of just moved him down to fit into this area. And if you all know who I'm talking about, it's Ronald Banks, Peace Among Chaos.
In this time of chaos and uncertainty, I bring peace with these words I speak, so listen. Breathe and allow me to create this blanket of serenity, one large enough to hold you and soften your anxiety. I know you may be wondering, when will life return to its normal ways and bring sunshine to these cloudy days? My son, my daughter, in due time it will, much sooner than you think. And this fear you feel will pass like the gas you have from all that food you bought. And we'll then all gather to tell this story like, you remember that one time when, and laughter will fall from our lips as we embrace our loved ones. So as you go, learn to be still. Allow your breath to guide you. You'll get through this. We all will.
Peace among chaos. He created that. Ronald Banks created that last year when, again, there was just all of this uncertainty of what was going on. How do you not get it or be exposed to it? And, just that whole shutdown period where it was real alarming to us. And he wrote that, and I think I found it like probably in March or April of this year, and it just kind of like just stuck with me because all the different transitions and moving pieces and people wondering, well, what's next and what do I have to prepare for and what's happening to my kids? Peace. Be still. We're going to get through this. Let's focus on things that are really important, and God will guide us through his peace. And so when I was putting this together, I was like going, oh my gosh, I'm so used to having like Preston Perry and then of course Ronald Banks and stuff. And my kid, Matt Belon's kind of growing on me as well. But I wanted to just kind of now really focus on this time of the season where God is the Prince of Peace. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. And if we just kind of embrace that on this side of next week when we're celebrating the reason for the season, I think that we'll be good. We'll be good. So next I have Christmas peace. Let's see.
So that the world may know peace is the whole reason for the Christmas story. I don't normally open with my punchline, but after this year, I think we can all agree peace has been hard enough to find. So I'm not looking to waste your time with clever wordplay or metaphors. I just know we need hope more than ever before. Because unlike ever before, you can literally read never-ending hurt on Facebook posts and in Twitter feeds. And almost every week, it seems we create another hashtag headstone, followed up by arguments with no regard to just how hard Christmas is gonna be for a family in that home on this year. So many protests welling up out of passionate fear, filling the streets over political people we will never meet. I see people placing their hope in promises that we all know won't keep, and still the news grows increasingly bleak with stories of tragedy after catastrophe. Rumors of economic shatterings, a drug epidemic no one's talking about because we traded truth for substitutes and they ain't really working out. So I think if the world is to ever know peace, there couldn't be a better time than now. In this Christmas season where we can run back to that sacred account, it's been echoed for ages on end, a prophecy of a holy God to struggling sinful men that says in order for the world to know peace, a child must be born. And to us a son will be given. The prophecy then states the government will be his alone for the lifting. His names will be Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and our Prince of Peace. As for the greatness of his government and peace within, they say there will be no end to it. Absolutely no finite measurement. Such a promise as this held all of creation in breathlessness for over 700 years without a single shred of evidence. But then on a midnight clear in Bethlehem, a star proclaimed God was finally with men. It was the first recorded Christmas held in a dirty, dirty stable where God incarnate laid as a baby in the manger. All of heaven sang of a savior and shepherds came with tears bigger than Cubs fans in November. The world's first time with Christ is why we celebrate every December. My friends, I'll say it again, that the world may know peace is the real reason for Christmas. This isn't a ploy to make you forget about pain and reality. It's just so you know my God's in the business of being peace to humanity. So down to earth he came, knowing full well he would have to be pierced for our transgressions, bruised for our iniquities. He took all of our punishment so we might be free, and by his wounds we might meet peace. I hope you're getting this. Peace isn't found in a feeling. Jesus Christ is peace. And I wrote this just so that you could meet him. Merry Christmas.
Woo! Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Just amazing. Just amazing. We are in strange times. It's the second year of this pandemic, and just getting through all the different things that have happened, we are in search of peace. This country is in search of peace. Families are in search of peace. Neighborhoods are in search of peace. And actually sometimes churches are in search of peace. So if you're attending churches and you're one of those individuals that you're searching for peace, know that the Prince of Peace is near. You just gotta call out to him. Yes, Marilyn, you just gotta call out to him. And so it's just an amazing time that we get to share that love and that opportunity. One of my dearest friends, and it'll make me cry, but I love her so. And Marilyn says Jesus Christ is peace. Yes, yes, Dr. Watkins, he is. And so when we think about that, that's what we can give ourselves. Speaking of peace, my next video is called The Whole Piece by Gospel Lee. Enjoy.
It's back like it never left. It's that time of year again. I mean, it was hardly New Year's Eve. Hard to believe that time is here again. It's supposed to be a snowfall, but this is where the perfect storm begins. I used to look forward to it all. Now I can't wait for it all to end. You don't understand. I've got to find and pick all the right gifts, making sure no one's missed on my never-ending list. And I've got Amazon, but it's not Prime, so it won't come on time, forcing me to the store like it's 2004 just to wait in line. It's also lights on the tree and lights on the house and all the Hobby Lobby decorations she couldn't live without. It's candy canes and ugly sweaters, parties to host and get-togethers. It's centerpieces, gift wrapping, gift cards, and the list goes on forever. Can't sleep because of the stress. And you're asking why I'm nervous? Well, you won't get it, but I'll tell you. You see, it all has to be perfect. I've got to get it just right to capture all the hearts and likes and thumbed up hands. How else will I know I've peaked the Pinterest of all my judges on Instagram? But what I don't understand is how my season of chaos could also be known as a season of peace. They say it's everywhere and all around us, but yet somehow it's so elusive to me. It's almost like every other card and every other song just serves as a reminder. Because they're all saying peace on earth, but that seems to be the last place that I can find it. But a part of me believes this isn't what you intended or invented. Because you crowned your son the Prince of Peace. And that's also why you sent him. Peace not just for one day or 365, but peace in the hopes that it'd be the posture from which we'd live our entire lives. But that's too much for us to embrace, so we avoid it like it's danger. Because we're more comfortable with the baby Jesus, that's why we keep him in the manger. But if we keep him as a baby, we're losing part of the story. Because when we confine him to a crib, we also rob him of his glory. He'll never grow up until we come to that tree and realize the star at the top is hanging there for you and me. Because when we chose our own way, we also chose to turn against you. And when we turned away, your enemy's what we turned into. But when your blood was spilt, peace settled the score. And when the stone was rolled away, peace ended the war. The Prince of Peace became a treaty who's designed to restore all the closeness in the garden we enjoyed like before. For so long we've been locked out, but peace unlocked the door and gave us everything we lost and gave us so much more. That's the peace I'm holding on to. I can't grasp with understanding. It's the only piece of its kind to transform death into dancing. This peace keeps my heart like Mary in the midst of my Martha planning. It calms and quiets my soul in this season that's so demanding. So it's the cradle and the cross. Your peace helps me accept and believe it. So when you say peace be unto you, every piece of me receives it.
Peace unto you. Woo! That one was another powerful one. Oh my gosh. And so, hopefully this short time that I've had with you, and for those that are, Craig Carlisle fans and the Framework fans, he had family stuff to take care of. And so I'm like, hey, Wholesome Words will go on. And to Tiffany, I know she's out there somewhere. She's taking care of family as well. And so I want you to take care of your family. Take care of them with joy and peace, and providing them with an understanding that God is here. He is here. And so if you don't open any other gifts this Christmas, receive Jesus as the most precious gift you could have for 2021. And it's not hard. It's not phenomenal. It's not like, oh, I have to do any one thing, but you just need to declare him as your Lord and Savior, because he is here. So I'm going to play one more of my favorite ones. I'm not going to say what it is, but this is the last video that we have for the Joy and Peace Wholesome Words event. And I hope you enjoy it, and that there's been a seed that's been planted in your heart or in your mind or your soul, where you're chewing on what joy and peace and love you can bring, not just to your family, but to your heart, to who you are. And so I'm always here to help different artists. If you're looking to maybe figure out how to plant your feet and just explore, you can always drop me a message in my Facebook page on Joanne Hoy, or of course I have my Creative Art Spark group. I'm there, and also in Wholesome Words. So if you're looking for some assistance, I'm here to help you blossom and groom and grow to where you need to go. And so I've helped others and let them flap their wings, and there's been just many others that have actually done that. And they're all across the world right now, actually. But I am here for that. So I'm going to close on this next video that I'm going to share with you. And I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous 2022. And I'll see you next year. And I pray that you find the joy and the peace that God has for you in your life this Christmas. Good night, everybody.
He is here, right here in this room, in your heart. He is near, nearer than breath, heartbeat, nearer than you are to you, closer than second chance or next opportunity, closer than tonight or yesterday. He is real, realer than touch, see, hear, smell, or taste, realer than reality. He is our reality. He is present, like space, wind, time, silence, night. He is waiting, like creation, like words on the tip of tongue, like songs that have yet to be sung. He is beauty, oranges, blues, every hue, every shade, sunset and sunrise. Whisper his name. He is holy, different, cannot be touched, explained, like sweet seconds of prayer, like grandmother on knees, wood floor bare. He is old hymns. He is the extending of limbs, stretched across trees, stripes to heal disease. He is son, distinctly three, distinctly one, the only wise, the only resurrector of lives. He is king. No earthly throne can house, no amount of elegant words can espouse. He is moment and voice, power of choice, in word and deed, in fruit and seed, nailed hands, nailed feet, innocent wounds that bleed. He is believe and trust. He is enough. He is all. He is call and purpose. Everything that we can sacrifice, he's worth it and more, much more. Our good deeds are mere pennies. We'll never even the score. He is behold and wow. He is who, what, when, why, how. He puts on the show. He's the one we come to see. He is soul's cry and sinner's plea. He is the epitome. He is the one no one can light a candle to or come within a 1,000,000-foot pole of. He is above. He is a father's love. He is maker of ways, ancient of days, has no fear, have no fear. God is here.